here within Dowtile, and it's really an industry standard, is the recognition and evaluation and control of hazards within the workplace. And we'll kind of go through those. A lot of people can recognize a hazard. A few people can evaluate them. But the problem is very few people take action to control them. And that's where OSHA comes in. They can see a lot of people do inspection programs, but they don't really see a lot of people taking action to fix those. A great person, Rosalind Carter, is really kind of, when it comes to quotes, is an inspiration for me. A leader takes people where they want to go, but a great leader takes people where they don't necessarily want to go, but they ought to. And I think that really pertains to safety more than anything when you look at it at a workplace, because safety is a topic that sometimes it can come easy and sometimes it can come hard. But one thing we need to understand with safety in the workplace is that there is zero tolerance. That unsafe behaviors, actions cannot be tolerated in the workplace. They do more harm than good when we allow those to take place. Just some statistics that I grabbed from the OSHA website is every day 16 people will not die in a work-related accident because someone stepped up and talked about safety, stopped them, made a comment to them, hey, that's not safe, let's look at it and do it a different way. That's what I call great leadership. And great camaraderie when you can have that conversation. Every year, that means over 4 million people will not get hurt. You can have a 100 group. We have close to 100 people, I believe, on the call today. I think if I asked who wants to get hurt this year, not a single person would raise their hand. And so we, as leaders, need to make sure that we do as much as we can to keep people from getting hurt. Safety audits are an important part of our prevention culture. But safety audits is a documented inspection program. We're going to go through a little bit of detail in a second, the difference between an inspection and observation to help break some of the complacency in the workplace. We can attain zero, however, it is very hard to do. We push here in Dowtile for zero every day. We don't consider when we do have a failure or an accident or recordable a total failure, because we know the programs we're putting in place are preventing those catastrophic failures from taking place. There's a pyramid out there. I don't know if anybody has ever seen this. This is a typical pyramid. There's one or two pyramids or one or two illustrations used in safety to get a point across. One is the pyramid. It was created by Marvin Bird back in the 60s, and the other one's called the iceberg. And the iceberg is where you see a little bit of ice above the waterline, but 90% of the iceberg is down below. And the reason this is important for Dowtile, this is foundation. And if you look at the bottom right-hand side, you can see where we have areas of focus. This is our focus areas. And we base it upon a word called value. We don't use priority. Several years ago, I've been with the company 7 years, we took down every banner, every sign that says priority, safety priority 1, you know, all this kind of stuff. A priority changes. It's not a play on words here, but a priority changes. When you wake up in the morning, your first priority is to maybe use the restroom or brush your teeth or do whatever. But throughout the day, your priorities change. A value is something that stays with you from the moment you get up to the moment you go to bed that evening. So it does not change. And that's what our focus is in Dowtile, and really everywhere I work, is the value of safety. You have to value it. You have to cherish it. And as you work your way up, you know, a lot of companies, they look and say, oh my goodness, we had a recordable. We had a lost time. That's in the red. I always put that in the red because, yes, that's what you see at the end. But the stages at the bottom are your solid foundation, your training, your education, your inspections, your desire and knowledge. This is the fundamentals of safety. And a lot of people don't understand that. They always focus on the first 5 tiers up above, and that's the reason they struggle with their safety programs. Causes of injury. This is something that probably catch you off guard. I can come into most of your facilities. Yes, I could probably find something wrong. I could find something wrong within my facilities. But between OSHA, the National Safety Council, and all these great organizations, they've done studies in the past years that of all the recordables that have taken place, only 4% were due to unsafe working conditions. And that means that we in America, no matter how big or small, we really provide a safe work environment. The problem with that is 96% come from unsafe acts. That means somebody either came to work with a bad attitude, didn't focus on safety, did something wrong. You know the kind of people that are out there. They're just unsafe. But I want you to think about this. In order to have an unsafe condition, which represents 96%, you generally had to have someone perform an unsafe behavior. And that's the reason we in Daltile and really the rest of the industry, as you read through magazines, you see it's not so much the workplace safety anymore. It's a key part because it does happen in the workplace. It's really those behaviors and those acts, and to get people to think correctly. Because safety does have a failure. And in the stone business and in the tile business, that failure looks like what's on your screen. And this is something nobody wants to go through. This is something that's very hard because you have to deal with people's families. You're affecting people's lives. You're affecting coworkers. I unfortunately have been through one of these, and I can tell you it's no fun. And so, you know, behaviors are a key to keeping people safe within the industry. And that's the reason I focus on behaviors just as much, if not more, than that of an inspection program. And we'll kind of go through here right quick. Here's some common violations in the industry itself. These could be pictures, I believe, that I took within my company and other companies. But this represents what people see out there. Poor housekeeping, items laying on the floor, causing trip hazards, electrical cords, pallets, and brooms. As you look at that top picture, you can see there's a lot of things there that just aren't the way you would have them at home. And so I challenge our employees all the time. Why would you do something at work if you wouldn't do it at home? It's called dress right dress. And so we want to make sure that we do everything correctly. Just as an example, that sling laying there on the floor, it's in bad condition. You know, it's got some things wrong with it. In today's society with OSHA, and they're very fine, happy, that would cost you about $2,500. And I can tell you right offhand, that's happened with me before. And that's how I know what the price tag is on that. And so also a frayed electrical cord will run you the same. So a $30 electrical cord being frayed could get you a $2,500 fine. That's not me to scare you, but that's the importance of investing in a good inspection program. Because here's one thing I know about a lot, if not the majority of OSHA inspectors. It's based on the person, how they greet them at the door, but it's based upon their first impression of the workplace. If it looks safe, it must be safe. Sometimes they don't do a deep dive. Sometimes they do. But first impressions make a difference. And also to our customers, because this isn't just about OSHA. This is also our customers. I can tell you many stories, but one of them, I hopped on an airplane one time, had my Daltile shirt on, and the customer looked at me and says, "Do you happen to work for Daltile Stone?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am, that's one of my business units." And she said, "I want to say what a great safety program. I'm a retired OSHA inspector. We visited your facility. You didn't allow our kids in there. You had a great visitor safety program. I want to say thank you." So that was really strange that I got to have that conversation. But we want the same thing to happen across the industry, not just Daltile. And that's the reason we're here presenting. Some more common violations that we see in the industry are fire extinguishers blocked. As you can see in the picture, you know, it's blocked. There's a rule out there from the National Fire Protection Association that all fire extinguishers have to have a minimum of 36 inches of clearance, which is 3 feet, that you have to be able to get to that fire extinguisher, and it has to be properly marked. Same goes as emergency exits being blocked. In this situation, you know, you've got two emergency exits side by side. I question the person why you had two close side by side. Perhaps we need to take the lights out on one of them and change our evacuation procedures where we just have one. But never block your emergency exits. That'll get you an inspection by the fire department, and that's a big-time OSHA fine these days. 36 inches there are also clearance. I will say this, if you have a door on the inside of a facility and it's not an exit, I recommend putting a not an exit sign on that door, either on it or above it. Put yourself in a situation, if you're the customer, power goes out, and there's a fire, you're trying to get out, how do you know, obviously you're going to head to the exits, but at the same time, you don't want to get trapped in a room where the door wasn't properly marked. That's a big thing. That's a big best management practice within the industry. Tools and equipment, this is huge. Hand tools are a high hazard when it comes to the stone and the ceramic tile industry. Never use homemade tools. We have taken out numerous tools in our operations. I see them used everywhere. Somebody can create something at home. I promise you this, if there's a homemade tool, there is somebody who makes that tool for you out there. You just have to look hard to find it. Always use the right tool for the right job. Never use a crescent wrench where a hammer was needed. Remove from service any broken tools. If it's broken, do not allow it to be in. Replace that. Racking, not so much in the stone business, but in the ceramic tile business, racking is a huge part of what we have. If the upright's bent, it should be replaced. If the bolt is sheared off, it should be re-anchored or repaired. Have load capacity signs. Our product is heavy in the stone business and the tile business, and to overload a rack is something you cannot afford, because usually when one rack fails, it causes a chain reaction to cause the rest to fail. And if you have somebody in that aisle, it could be disastrous. So a very good rack inspection program. Ladders. If you see a ladder, remove it from service. We in Dow Tile, at our stores, we do allow the aluminum ladders. At our production, our manufacturing operations, and our distribution centers, we only allow the grass type material, the fiberglass. That's from an electrical standpoint. But make sure you inspect them. In this picture here, you can see there's a pallet standing up which is leaning, which should not happen. There's also a ladder leaning against the wall. The pallet was to fall, and most likely caused the ladder to fall. Use chains or bungee cords to strap down your ladders. I tell my sites a lot of times the space in between two racks, make it a little bit wider, say 2 or 3 feet, and slide your ladder in there, and that way it can't fall either way. So only use for the intention and purposes. I can give you an example. If you have an A-frame ladder and you have like an indoor bay, don't use that A-frame as if it was an extension ladder, folded up and crawl up on it. That can get you a $2,500 fine as well. Those are made for the to be the A-frame type. One thing we did is to share with you what we're doing to get away from A-frame ladders, long ladders. We are going to the little giant, because it's made for all purposes, and that way nobody can argue with this for which form or shape that it's being used in. So that's a good little way to get past it. You can get those ladders for about $280 or even cheaper. So that's just a way to stay out of trouble. I mentioned earlier observations versus inspections. We like to use observations here within Dow Tile, and we focus only on 4 criteria. So if you can picture this spreadsheet being blank where it says observations, and all you look at is 4 things: safe act, unsafe act, safe condition, unsafe condition. When you look at that 4% of your site's going to be safe due to the accidents, and 96% is going to cause your injuries, you're going to start seeing a lot more up in the act part if you do it correctly. And that means that you have to watch the employees in action. A lot of times inspections take place when employees are on breaks. You're only capturing a small amount of where your problem is. This is where we like to go in and evaluate using those 4 sets of criteria. And what we do, we don't call out people's names. We do a review. We bring this information to the employees, and we share it. Here's the observations we're seeing. Let's correct this. This is a very simple form that I'd recommend everybody to use. Very simple information. The inspection or the observation, both are needed within the industry. But we look at it as inspection as being something that's a thing. It's passive. It relies on experts. It can be negative sometimes. And it's also at a set time. We require our sites, and you'll see a slide in a minute, that talks about, hang on, I want to zoom my screen just a second. It's 100%. That talks about inspections and what we do. We do require inspections at all of our facilities each month. And then we also have the observation. And to us, the observation is where our numbers started to improve quite a bit. We currently run about 70% below the national average of when you can compare a Dow Tile store to an outside store on how safe we are. We really take the observations because those are the ones that catch the people when they come in. If they have a bad attitude, they're having a bad day, you want to stop them before they can affect someone else. Our motto is we want people to leave the same way they came in, and that is we want them to leave safe. So we really like the interaction with the observation because it gives us a everyone attitude. It's positive and it can be negative, but at the same time it gives us what we need. One of the key things in safety that you hear out in the world is safety. It's not my place, but truly it is. You're responsible, I tell everybody, for yourself, for your coworker, for your boss, for everybody, because the decisions you make as an employee and as a leader affect people. And I like the team approach. To me, the word team means together, everyone achieves more. So you're really functioning as one person. Think safety. Often you may run into a challenging person or dynamic individual that questions really the value of safety. And so, you notice I said value, not priority. And so that's somebody to really focus on and to get them straightened out in regards to good observations. When you do observations with them fellow employees, always start with a smile. Don't go in with a negative attitude. And that's the one thing we tell our folks is when you come in, have a smile. Don't come to somebody and say, oh my goodness, I can't believe you're doing this. You talk to them, you smile, you hit the positives first, and you say, hey, I noticed you did this work like this. Is there a way that we could change it and make it a little bit safer? And at that point, you've really taken a situation that can be negative into one that will become positive. But whatever you do, don't turn away. Take the initiative and make the change. Too many times people, they know an accident happened and they think to themselves, man, if I would have just said something or I was going to say something after lunch, take that initiative. Because the person's life you may save may be your best friend, who's your coworker, it could be whomever, but make sure you take that initiative. Inspections, as I mentioned earlier, is still a huge part of what we do. This is just a picture of it's a 4-page document we have. We have a specific one for stone, and we have a specific one for what we'll call our tile centers. More than willing to share these with you. We do a monthly inspection where our site members are trained. We have an education book we've provided them, and we require that inspection to be conducted the 20th of each month. And we do reviews to make sure there's no pencil whipping going on, because that's the one thing that we do not do. And so what we also do is we do closure and corrective actions. That's very important. Our insurance carrier, I know each of you may have somebody different. We take advantage of ours in a roundabout way. We schedule audits every quarter. We have over 300 stores. Our stone centers are audited every single year by an outside consultant or our insurance company. And then our typical store is audited once every 3 years. So this way we make sure everybody is being audited. And they are audited by this checklist. So this checklist is a good way to make sure those sites aren't pencil whipping. For our stone, we do an annual verification audit. That's about a 20-page document that goes over everything. It's a more in-depth audit. It's completed the third quarter of each year, and each one of our stone centers must participate. They have to provide pictures. They have to provide where they're at and corrective actions from the previous year. I can give you an example. 7 years ago when I started, we used our Liberty Mutual. We created that relationship. We averaged 9.5 findings per store. Areas of opportunity is like what we like to call them. Now we're averaging less than 1.25 on average. So that means we're now hitting our stores for a second time because of the 3-year rotation, and our stores are safer, our rates are better, our employees have great attitudes towards safety, and it's fantastic to go there. We're no longer, oh my goodness, the safety people are here. We're, hey, look, the safety people are here type attitudes. We do our industrial trucks. We do the daily pre-use inspection. Once again, I'm willing to share this form. It's a 1-page form that captures all days. We have requirements that we train everybody every 3 years. We're actually getting ready to change that to every other year because we do a lot of driving. We have required documentation. We do online training and certificates. We actually have a coach at every site. We do an eye examination and a skills evaluation. I always tell people when you look at a warehouse, you have fork truck, dock safety. If you have the slabs and that, those are your big hazards. So if you were to get inspected, fork truck safety is going to be huge. And then we do our pre-operational, pre-use inspections, and we maintain those records for 90 days. What we do and how we do it within Dowtile, it's not one person such as myself knows everything. I like to call it the storm, norm, and perform. We brainstorm. We then take the information and normalize it to what we can use, and then we put in the performance of that data. So we take from different people at different sites. Our greatest resource, our greatest asset are our people. They have great ideas. It's just that you need to go out and ask them to share those. We standardize operations amongst our stores. You go from one store to the next, and it's all consistent on what's required within safety. There's never the exception. A lot of training we do. We require monthly safety training. No ifs, ands, or buts, and we track it. We monitor it. We present that data along with the housekeeping inspections to our leadership. We do powered industrial truck, as I mentioned, every 3 going to 2 years. Our cranes and hoists, we retrain every 2 years. HAZCOM, PPE, electrical, all kinds of training that we do and require. It's not long training, but it's stuff that serves as reminders. Some great resources are the industry-specific training. MIA, we help build that. That is a great video. We require all of our stone people, if you're going to set foot in any of our stone centers, you're required to watch those 8 sections. MIA, such as this webinar and various other information, has a lot of great resources. If you don't have a strong safety program and you need documentation, you have the MIA Toolbox Talks. Those are great. We share those. Bureau of Labor, BLR, has a great 7-minute trainer. The National Safety Council. And one I didn't put on here that is a great resource is the Oregon OSHA website. They have a lot of great things and a lot of free things for the smaller business operations. Every time we have an accident within Dowtile, we require the store to perform an accident investigation. This is just one of the 2 pages. And because we want to understand why that accident took place, where the failure was, and how we can do to prevent it. In the past, it was always, well, the employee did something wrong. We want to make sure that we as leaders are providing the resources and the accountability at all levels. And so I always tell everybody, when our accidents get conducted, we, management, have a responsibility. One thing that we do, I'm going to zoom in right quick, folks. I apologize. I just apologize for that. We're trying to make sure y'all can see it a little better. One thing we do at Dowtile is we have personal protective equipment. We require safety shoes, safety glasses, hard hats, gloves, and high visibility. Let me zoom up for y'all right quick. I apologize. See if that would work. We also have internal communications. We do the lookout. This is one that we do internally when we have problems. We share this each month with our employees. It's just a way to keep our most common problems out front. We don't hide them. We share our safety success stories. We do bulletin boards when we have people who are really rocking and rolling on the various safety aspects of our programs. We have banners such as the Back to Basics. This is one we put together. You're welcome to steal this for our slabs. It talks about what you always do, but what yet you never do. And we have these at all of our locations. We also believe customer safety, much like the story I told you earlier. We focus on customer safety. We can't afford to lose one customer from the product standpoint, more or less from a safety standpoint. And so we have these signs in place. From the moment you walk in, we require our customers to wear the visitor's vest. We have risk. I'm not going to go through this slide, but I put it in here so you have it as a reference of how we Dowtile look at risk. And we really put it on a scale of 1 to 5, and you can have this scale. We don't believe that any operation has 0 opportunity of safety. We feel that everything we do has some type of exposure, and this is the mechanism that we use to, or the scale that we use to grade our different areas of opportunity when we have accidents. If you want more information with that, I'm more than willing to share it. We put the effort in at Dowtile because there are no OSHA-specific standards for the stone or the tile industry. We work very hard with the Marble Institute. We work very hard with the MIA Safety Committee. We want to make sure we change the way, because it's all about the people and keeping our customers and our workers safe in the workplace. Some quick best management practices. Keep things organized and presentable. These are just a few pictures of how we use bins, and we designate storage areas for our brooms and for our dustpans and for our various equipment. Available resources, I won't read them all, but you have the MIA, over a 20-member team, the MIA website, recruitment, job hazard analysis. There's so much information out there, I couldn't put it on one page. But these are just the names of some places I really recommend that you go when you grab that information. The one thing that has helped us the most is Safety in the Stone Business, both English and Spanish. This is the heartbeat of our stone business. This, coupled with the videos that the MIA has, is spot on for what we do. This is actually looked at by OSHA as being a best management practice. So I really encourage you to reach out and grab some copies. These are things that we even provide for our customers. Some of our key customers, we will provide, especially the fabricators, a copy of that manual so that they can have it and share it with their employees, because we care about the downstream side of our customers, the fabricators and everybody else, and their employees as well. Sorry I went through the last few slides very quickly. I just wanted to make sure that we met the 30-minute time constraint. So that's what I have. And so now I'll open it up for questions. No questions? If anybody would like a copy of any information, any checklist, any presentations, past copies of our internal The Lookout magazine or newsletter that we have, anything. The one way I look at safety is I don't necessarily need anybody to recreate it. We've created a lot of things that we're willing to share. Safety to me is always free. And, you know, being a member of the MIA Safety Committee, as I told everybody when we walked in, I covered my name, my company's name, said, we're here to work together. And that's the way I feel. So I asked it, you know, my email address is on here, my phone number is on here. Call me. I will give you any and everything we have in regards to safety. That way you can keep things simple. Carol, I don't think we have any questions.
I'm sorry, you guys, if you can hear me. Apparently we're having a little bit of technical difficulty. I'll make sure that I forward the question on to Chad.
Something tells me we're not able to hear him, right?
Chad, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I'm so sorry that my phone got disconnected. We do have a couple of questions, and if they're still on the line, you might be able to run through them real quick. The first question that we have is from Olivia, and she asked, we have a young safety program. Who can we talk to regarding the start of my program?
Call me. Got my number's there. I travel quite a bit, depending on where you're located. I am more than willing to support any efforts or to help. And then we can put you in contact with some people that were perhaps local. Just so you all know, OSHA has a program. It's a non-enforcement program. different names for different states, and a lot of times they will come out and do a free, if they find something they don't write you up, inspection. But I'm more than willing to converse with anybody that would like to talk safety.
We have another one. OSHA recommendations are usually for companies with 7 or more workers on the site. What do you recommend for sites with less than that? And that one is from Anna.
Okay. Yeah. I believe the new OSHA record keeping requirements you might need to look is that they changed. You have to have an OSHA log now if you have 10 or more employees. The way we look at this is I would ask that company, Anna, do you just have one site? Do you have 2 sites? Do you have 3 sites? In other words, do you have 7 people at one and 4 at the other? Because a lot of times the OSHA will take the cumulative of all those numbers, which you may be at a higher level. That's the reason our stores, too, fall under we'll call it the exemption code, because most of our stores have less than 10 people, but we still are obligated to do, for how big we are, the OSHA reports. But in something like that, she's free to reach out to me, and we'll help get whatever she needs.
Okay, she just replied she has one site with 5 workers. But before you answer, before I lose the majority of the people on the call, I just want to say thank you for joining us today. And a number of you have asked about the presentation. If you look at your panel, there's a tab or a button, with a drop-down button that says Handouts, and a copy of the presentation can be found there. I'll also send out the presentation in a PDF file with the recording. You should get that either sometime today or tomorrow. Let's see what else we have. A lot of thank yous. Great presentation. We have one here that says, are you having problems getting the new SOS from downtrace suppliers? And that one is from Randall Taylor.
We do, not as much as we used to.
Or SDS, sorry.
Oh, SBS?
SDS. Safety data sheets.
Yeah, safety data sheets. One thing we did, and I sell nothing here, please understand that, is the answer to it is we did in the beginning, but we don't now. We actually hired 2 years ago. I brought on 2 interns, and we went in and did a full review of all the chemicals within our operations. And we found that roughly 90% of what is out there was online. And then the other 10%, we went out to them, we were nice, and more or less kind of, I'd say we're the big boy on the block, but we got what we needed. And so, we had less than 10% really give us any trouble, but with the regulations changing, online really helped us out quite a bit.
Let's see what else we have. Yeah, I think I've gotten through all of them. There's quite a few, but it's mostly thank yous and yeah, they can feel free to follow up with you directly. If for some reason they have a problem, they can email me and I'll forward the questions to you. But I think that would conclude, unless there are any more questions. Oh, here we have another one. We're a fabrication company and have both office and the shop. My biggest challenge is how to communicate the importance of that to the office. And that also is from Olivia, and I'm assuming it's the safety program she's referring to.
Sounds like the people in the shop floor get it, but not so much the ones in the office.
Yeah.
What I recommend, and this is the one thing that I always call storm, norm, and perform, is ask that leadership at that site, hey, we've got some concerns, or we feel that we have some opportunities. Always be nice, always be cordial, and say we'd like to sit down and just talk about them. And that's really where it starts at, is putting everything down on paper and starting to do that brainstorming of what people see, and then start normalizing that information. I think that's the best way to do it. Never take a negative attitude. Just come and say, hey, You know, we think that we can improve our safety. Here's some simple things. And I always tell everybody this. Safety shouldn't be hard. I like to use the approach KISS. Keep it short and simple. So that's my recommendation, is just to engage that leadership and say, we've got some concerns, we'd like to talk to you, and just start with a few down on paper. I think sometimes it's as easy as doing a monthly housekeeping inspection is always the first start of most young safety programs. It's just to get that initial start of everybody or a few people looking at what's happening in the workplace.
Okay. Okay, I think I've gone through all of them, all the questions. We had about 18 or so. And as I indicated, most were just saying thank you. And again, one last time, you can access the handout directly from the dashboard that you're probably looking at, where you can enter the chat. It's one tab above. It says handouts, and I have attached a copy there. I will also send out a copy of the presentation just in case you have difficulty downloading the information, and a copy of the recording. Thank you so much for joining us, and keep watching our MIA calendar of events for future webinars. Thank you.